Steve King and Johnny Putman at News Talk 720 WGN. Okay, you have to forgive us if we geek out for a couple minutes, because people who work third shift will understand. Your days are upside down. So we wind up having our dinner in front of the tube every afternoon. Mm-hmm. And for the over 20 years that Johnny and I have been at WGN Radio, we have watched As the World Turns.
Faithfully. As we've said, when we're on the road, we call ahead and have friends record the show for us. That's how bad it is, or how good. We think that it's in a wonderful place these days, and it's real interesting. With our guest tonight, they're an elite group of guests that have generated interest from literally around the world. With us tonight, we have the young man who portrays Luke Snyder on As the World Turns. He is Hansis.
And also Jake Silbermann, who plays Noah on As the World Turns.
And Christopher Goutman is with us. He's the executive producer of As the World Turns. See, I'm nervous. I can't believe this. You guys, how are you?
Good. Very good, thanks.
We're like giddy kids going, oh, we get to talk to Luke and Noah. Oh. Do you believe us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
It strokes our egos. It's great.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for staying up late, because for people who don't know, you guys are on the East Coast, so it's an hour later there. There has been, to nobody's surprise, a rather controversial storyline that's been going on for a while.
The summer storyline for Luke and Noah, or Nuke as we like to call you guys.
So I thought I would just cut right to the chase. Now, Johnny told me not to do this, but I thought I would cut right to the chase and begin with Christopher Goutman and ask one of the key questions that we've had. Christopher, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Shoot.
Okay. When are you going to get the light fixed in Emma Snyder's refrigerator?
Never. Classic. We don't mess with Emma.
I said, Steve, we've got a valuable little amount of time to talk. He goes, but it bothers me. We've got to ask Christopher when we've got him on the phone. Okay, Van, you've been with the show. It'll be 2 years this year, right? Yeah. And when you joined the show, you were a part of one of the major families on As the World Turns, the angst-ridden teen son of the Snyders.
Snyder's son, yeah.
Yeah, the Snyder's son. Did you ever have any idea that your character was going to fast forward and become really, I'm not kidding you, just a huge element in the storyline?
Well, you know, I knew coming in that there was going to be, the coming out storyline that Luke was going through. I knew that was going to be focused around Luke. When I started, I wasn't on contract. I didn't know how long it was going to be. Mm-hmm. So, and it was like my first, big job, and I was just like, I'm going to be in a soap opera. So I was really thrilled. And then, as the story went on, and I eventually signed a contract, and, I've been there for a couple of years now. It's been great to be, part of a major family, and I feel so fortunate to have had a couple really awesome, meaty storylines around my character and his relationships with his family, and now with Noah and all that. Did I ever think I'd be the center of it? I never thought I'd be on a soap opera.
Mm-hmm. Now, you grew up without a television too, right?
Television, yes.
So
I was raised in the woods on a mountain. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a television.
They feel like there's a song there,
My father. No, I was raised without a television, so like I grew up not watching TV, so that was kind of not in my realm of thinking as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, when you were hired by As the World Turns, were you told what the storyline was going to be for your character prior to being hired?
Yeah, I definitely knew the direction it was going to be taking. And, unlike I'm still kind of going through those, initial feelings that Van was going through, I guess, a year and a half ago. It's just,
right.
Just so excited to be, around in that. I think the storyline's been going great.
As we said at the outset, Van's character, Luke Snyder, has come to terms with his sexual identity, unlike Jake. And part of the storyline for Noah Mayer is that he's just in denial. And we're
partly because of his father.
Well, we think 100% because of his father.
Christopher, let me ask you, were there discussions behind the scenes before you even decided to go with this storyline. And I have to say, before I hear your answer, we have been so impressed, not just that we're As the World Turns fans. This has been handled so well, so sensitively. I think it is possibly the best portrayal of a gay relationship that I've ever seen on over-the-air television.
Thanks so much. That definitely means a lot from everybody here.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we basically treated it as we would any other romance, and I think giving it that respect really helped us see it clearly. And it's a romantic story. It's a story about two young men find out who they are, and family is very important to the story. So it was anchored well. And again, we just treated it as a romantic story, as like any other romantic story on the show.
Have you guys been at all surprised by the positive reaction to the storyline?
This is Van, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like not really surprised, because I think that I think people are essentially, accepting and essentially good people who want to hear or see a good story. And if it's between two guys, if it's between two girls, if it's between a guy and a girl, I think people have a lot more acceptance than they're generally given credit for.
We were very careful too. I mean, Luke, the character of Luke, was on the show for over a year before this particular story was introduced. So the audience had a while to get used to him and like him and see he was part of a big family on the show, the Snyder family, which has been around for decades.
Well, just as a viewer, I have to say that I think the evolution of Luke's coming out and how his family dealt with that all added to the impact of this relationship going on now.
Great. Thanks. I'm glad you got that.
But I also feel that, and I've been watching the show for over 40 years now, I honestly feel that we would have seen a well-established, completely accepted within the Oakdale community, the community in As the World Turns, biracial couple before we would have seen a gay couple. And that's why I think this is truly groundbreaking, because I think that would have happened before.
Well, I think that, I think there are many sort of taboos. I think you go for, what we go for is as much authenticity as possible, but we want people to accept these two young men as people, first and foremost, and to understand what they're going through. And I think with understanding comes more acceptance. So it's a growing sort of phenomenon that we have, and hopefully we'll be able to build on it more.
Now, Van, your life is going to be very interesting, because we understand that you are going to be starting in a play off-Broadway, making your debut in a play called Die, Mommy, Die.
I've actually already started. In my 5th day of rehearsal, I guess.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm very tired.
So no sleep for Van.
No sleep for Van. Lots of coffee.
Yeah.
But it's great, and I have to thank As the World Turns and Chris for letting me work both jobs at once. It's been, the show's great. It's about as different from As the World Turns as you can get. So it kind of lets me, I do the soap during the day and this at night, the play at night, and I get to, I guess go crazy because I'm going to get bipolar with two different characters.
Yeah.
Well, the key question I have for you, Van, is how are you going to find time to get into your comic book collection?
There's always time for comic books.
Right on.
I heard you're a big comic fan.
Huge.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Yes.
Huge comic fan.
Yeah.
And I heard you recently got to tour the Marvel Comic Books Corporation.
What? Yeah, I did. It was awesome. That was actually, I got that through As the World Turns. I had said somewhere that I was a big fan, and it ended up that I got to tour Marvel Comics' office, and I, embarrassingly enough, almost started crying. It's a childhood dream of mine to go to a comic book office, as strange as that sounds. But it was an amazing experience. It was almost a year ago now. I want to go back. I want to return visit.
Yeah, I'm a big comic book fan too.
Yeah, Jake's
and let's go back there. Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comics a lot.
If you guys could play any comic book character, who would it be?
Hawkeye.
Okay.
Or Quicksilver. One of those.
All right. Christopher.
And Peter Parker for me.
Yeah, but